If you're just an average person looking to move to New York City in 2026, this video is made for you. My goal is to not sway you either way, tell you to move here or tell you to stay away. My goal is to just give you all the facts that I have so that way you can make your own informed decision, because that's what really matters anyways, right? So I've made lots of videos on this topic. I give advice about it all the time. Last year I did not make an update video, so we're way overdue, but I try not to repeat myself year after year. So if there's something I didn't touch on in this video that you're interested in, check out my past videos because I may have gone more in depth there. I definitely want to share some more of my own personal experience in this one, share some stories. This year in October, I will have lived in New York City for 10 years. 10 years is a long time. I've lived many chapters of my life here, and I love it here today just as much as I did on the day I arrived, but it doesn't mean we haven't had our rough patches, which I'm about to get into all of that. So let's go grab a bite to eat really quick at a place that is near and dear to my heart. Yes, we're in Times Square. Don't come at me, I'll explain. We are covering a lot of topics today, from the current rental market to my experience subletting to finding your community here, current events, ways to save money, discussing safety, just what to expect when you move here. I even tell you about a meltdown I had on a bench in Madison Square Park a long time ago. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not expecting everyone to agree with everything that I say. A lot of this is based off of my own experience, and as we know, everyone has a totally different experience living here, so just take what resonates and leave what doesn't. I can't wait to take you around the city today. So right now I'm sitting in a pret-a-manger. I don't even know what you would call this. It's like a fast fashion for restaurants. It's really overpriced. I think I paid like $17 total for a soup and just that tiny little hot sandwich. But the reason I'm here is this location, I believe, was where I would come in my first week of living here in 2016. It's a grab and go spot. You can sit here and chill. No one's really going to kick you out. They had access to a bathroom. They have like a bathroom code on their receipts, or at least they used to. They have free Wi-Fi. I was staying on my friend's couch in Washington Heights, and so I didn't want to be that person that's just like hanging out on the couch all day. So I was out and about all day, every day, and I loved it. Basically, I was sitting here on my laptop, refreshing Craigslist job postings, so the second that something got posted, I could reach out and maybe even get an interview. You will never catch me shaming anyone for hanging out only around Times Square when they first move here, because you just kind of start with what you know and then branch out from there. All over. Eventually, the Craigslist ads pulled through, and I got a job here. Well, you can't see there. Here. Inside those doors. It was a completely different restaurant. It was called Rare Bar and Grill. We're in Chelsea right now, if you didn't know. And now it's the Chelsea Table and Stage. Who knows what that is? I don't know, but it's in the Hilton Hotel. Basically, I got this job within 5 days of moving here, and I started the next day. And I was supposed to be here at 5:30 in the morning, 5 days a week. I would set up the buffet in the morning for the hotel. This place really did teach me a lesson. Like, you don't always have to wait for the perfect job to accept. Sometimes you just got to take the temporary job that you know you're not passionate about, that you know is not a good fit, but you got to do it anyway, because that's what you got to do to be where you want to be. For me, it was here in New York. So I accepted this job immediately. And I ended up meeting someone who actually, in hindsight, changed the trajectory of my life. Oh my God, my nose is running. Oh my God. Anyways, the person I met at this job ended up introducing me to her roommate, who got me a job at another restaurant where I ended up staying for a full year. And I met my core group of friends for the next couple of years. None of that would have happened if I hadn't have seen that Craigslist ad. I hadn't have gotten a job here and hated my life for 2 months. You know, it worked out. I found my first corporate job on Craigslist, actually. I hated my life at the time because it was a highly stressful job, but I met one of my best friends there. But I found that through Craigslist, and then I got my other corporate job through a recruiter that for someone that I met while working at that company. So once you just get that initial job, just get a job, you're going to meet people that will maybe give you opportunities in the future. But I will say, people can suss out if you're, just being their friend because you want something from them. Go into it with genuine intentions, not like that you're trying to get something from everyone you meet. Not every coffee date or hangout, it has to be about networking, but networking, I believe now, is one of the only ways to get a job, because the job market here is trash. If you're not on LinkedIn, you need to get on LinkedIn. Also, Toastmasters is a great resource. Well, I've actually considered joining Toastmasters because they have opportunities to practice your public speaking. Move with integrity, have flexibility, be smart about things. You'll be just fine. I almost kind of want to go in. I don't even know if they're open. I should probably take you with me, huh? You know what? They're not even open, so that makes my job a lot easier. I need to warm up. I'm gonna go to a Gregory's coffee shop. Yeah, I saw one on the corner. I'm never in Chelsea, so this is really fun for me. Woohoo! Just warming up inside. I was gonna take us on a little walk around Chelsea. It's too cold, y'all. I also feel like I'm hunching to stay in the frame. So yeah, we're in Gregory's Coffee here on 6th Avenue and West 26th. And they also have a bathroom. Just ask the barista for a code. And I'm drinking a matcha. So in my first maybe 3 weeks of living in New York, I was staying on friends' couches. I had maybe 3 or 4 friends who lived in the city, and I honestly don't know what I would have done if they didn't let me sleep on their couches, because I truly did not have a plan. Oh, to be 25 again. Now I'd be like, okay, I need to have everything set up in advance, but sometimes things just end up working out in your favor. As you know, right now we're in Chelsea, and this neighborhood is a bit significant, not just because my name is Chelsea and I used to work in Chelsea, but I also used to live in Chelsea for a brief moment. It was like only for 1 month. This place was significant because it was my first experience sort of living alone in New York. It was through a sublet that I found on Facebook. If you go on Facebook and just look up New York City sublet or New York City rental, whatever, I'll put up on the screen. There's a ton of different options. I think at the time I had used Gypsy Housing. Usually find the group that doesn't have so many members in it because it's less competitive. I was thriving on sublets. I found this opportunity to sort of live alone. It was basically the tiniest room you could think of. It had a hot plate for a stove, a mini fridge. It was my own space, you know? It didn't need to be big. I didn't have much stuff at all. The reason I was able to move 5 or 6 times in the first 2 years was because I only had a backpack and a suitcase. But in that place in Chelsea, God, it was a nice idea, but it was a freaking nightmare for several reasons. First of all, the landlord didn't approve of the sublet. Subletting in New York City is technically legal, but it's really depends on the building. Some landlords have clauses in their leases that restrict it. Some are okay if you ask them in advance. They just don't want anything to happen behind their back. But in this particular case, the landlord had no idea that I was subletting, and somehow he saw me come in and out, whatever, and that just didn't end well. I ended up leaving within a month. Totally understand that, and I was more than happy to leave because that place was infested with roaches. Found that out the night that I moved in. This is an important conversation. Sorry, it is gross, but it's important. The smaller the roach, the more concerned you should be, because that means the source is close. In my current apartment now, I do have some roaches, but they're really big ones. They're like wanderers, you know. They're not water bugs, but they are roaches. But I also have cats who can eat them, or at least kill them, and then I dispose of them. Best part of the story is that there was an old man down the hallway from where my door was. We all shared a bathroom. This old man, I don't know how long he had lived there, but he was always naked with his door open. So it's very likely that, I would leave in the apartment to go to work, and I'd see this naked old man. I would pretty much put up with anything at that stage of my life in New York, except for bugs. Bugs is where I draw the line. I have an irrational fear of them crawling in my mouth and my nose and my ears when I sleep. I ended up finding a friend at one of my jobs and moving in with her apartment in Inwood, and I paid $650 a month for a whole year. I've been subletted since maybe 2019. So I don't know what it's like now. So if you have been subletting more recently, please leave your experience in the comments. Let us all know. But while we're here talking about sublets, I implore you to put on your critical thinking cap and your CIA hat, brain, whatever. Vet the crap out of these people that you find online. Look on their Facebook profile and see how long they've had their profile for. Not in all cases is this sketchy, but I think it's just something that could potentially be a red flag if someone had just recently made an account. It could be a potential scam. Reverse Google image search their profile picture and see if anything comes up, if it's actually them, if it's not, if it's a stock photo. Open an incognito browser and go on LinkedIn, look them up. I don't want you to get scammed. I don't want you to get harmed. I figure we're talking about apartments, so why not be in mine? Moving in New York City is incredibly expensive. So I'd advise you to cut any corners that you can. I've actually used Uber XLs before to help me move, but it really just depends on the drivers that you get. Some of them do not want anyone to bring furniture with them, and that totally makes sense. When I moved from East Williamsburg to South Williamsburg. My best friend at the time, she was helping me call the Uber. We ended up getting this guy who, I swear to God, he only did this for me, basically because he thought my best friend was cute. But he like turned off the Uber app and we paid him a flat rate of something like $50, $75 or something. And then he helped us make 3 trips from East Williamsburg to South Williamsburg to move my like 3 or 4 furniture pieces. And I'll never forget that. He was really, really cool. So it just truly depends on what you get. And maybe you're not looking to sublet. Maybe you're looking to rent straight away once you get here. And this is not sponsored at all, but make sure you're utilizing Open Igloo on Instagram or on their website browser. It's a great way for tenants to be able to intentionally find rent stabilized apartments by just plugging in an address. You can get all sorts of information on a prospective unit. You can read reviews that people have left of certain landlords. Basically, you can just suss out if it's too good to be true. I wish I had this. I wish I had this. Basically, finding a rent stabilized unit in New York City is like striking gold. This means that your landlord can only raise your rent a certain percentage amount each year. The Rent Guidelines Board meets, I think, once a year to decide what percentage that is. For leases starting October 1st, 2025 to September 30th, 2026, a landlord cannot raise your rent over 3% for a 1-year lease and 4.5% for a 2-year lease. I think some of the information on Open Igloo is behind a paywall, but in general, a lot of the main stuff you're gonna need is free. I've mentioned this many, many times before, but make sure you have all of your rental documents prepared ahead of time before, honestly, you even start searching for an apartment. I'll put up on the screen what you may or may not need. Also, in the past, I've mentioned to attach all the documents to an email so that way you can just send it over to the broker whenever you find a place you want to apply for. But I am revising that. Someone had suggested, when I had mentioned this last time, to put documents in a folder in a Google Drive. That way they still have access to the PDFs, and then you also have the ability to revoke access if you ever need to. Read your lease, you guys. I know a lot of it sounds like a bunch of legal jargon, and it is. And I know that brokers or landlords are trying to speed things along as fast as possible, but don't let this rush you into signing something that you don't fully know what you're signing. I've asked some pretty stupid contract questions before. Eventually you learn what's standard and what's not standard. Gourds, come here. Come here. Okay, speak your truth. Mascara, where you at? The FAIR Act went into effect in June 2025, where whoever hires the broker is the one that has to pay for it. So if you're browsing StreetEasy or Zillow and you're in communication with the broker that you did not hire, the landlord hired them and they're the ones that have to pay for it. For this apartment, I paid the broker 1 month's rent, which at the time when I signed on was $2,300. Money I will never get back. There's been some general concern that landlords would just pass this cost back onto the tenants by raising the rents. And while that has happened in some cases, the impact appears to be pretty modest. Oh my gosh, does anyone hate it when they get these little, like, the transfers into the, you know what I mean? According to StreetEasy's analysis, renters have seen an average increase of about $38 more per month, but in exchange, they're saving thousands of dollars up front. In the event that renters are being asked to pay a broker fee from the landlord in violation of the FAIR Act, you should report the incident. Report it to the New York City Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. Landlords can only ask for first month's rent and a security deposit up front, and application fees can't exceed more than $20. We no longer pay last month's rent here. It's been that way for a while too. Landlords have 14 days to return your security deposit. It's kind of funny because in my last place, it took them over 6 months to do so. Landlords are required to provide heat and hot water. In my building, it's the super that controls that. She's really nice. She asks me how the temperature is. The heating season goes from October 1st to May 31st, where between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m., heat must register at least 68 degrees Fahrenheit when the outside temperature falls below 55 degrees. Buy renter's insurance. A fire could happen. A pipe could burst and all your belongings are ruined. You could get robbed or things stolen. Theft is a big thing. It can cover temporary housing if your unit just ends up becoming unlivable. Yeah, I use Lemonade and I pay $17 a month and it's the best peace of mind I could possibly have. Right now, as you may be planning your move, focus on paying your rent on time every month and building any type of a relationship at all with your building management or your landlord or whoever's in your building. For me to get this apartment, I needed a landlord recommendation. Luckily, I had a good relationship with my last one because I paid on time. And I think that helped set me apart from other candidates to get this unit. Document every single thing, every interaction with the landlord, get everything in writing with your roommates as well. Because sometimes if you're living with people you don't know how they can be. It could be a bad situation and you want a paper trail to help back you up. From January to October of 2025, asking rents across New York City rose 4.8% from last year, according to the Street Easy Rent Index. I think for one bedrooms, you're looking at maybe around $3,000. It's really tough out here. Even just from looking on Street Easy and Zillow, comparing to videos I've made in the past, I was like, oh, wow, that was a good price for that apartment just even 2 years ago. And now we would not even see that. I haven't seen really anything in Manhattan less than $2,500 at all. I think it's time to brave the outdoors, guys.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see, we end up.
I keep hearing that every year, crime is going down, but do I actually feel like it's safer here? Not really. It's really subjective though. It depends on your lifestyle, depends when you're traveling, depends where you live. I think it's important to remember that all of these numbers are only based off of crimes that are actually reported, crimes that are recorded. Hey, I'm walking here. No matter what the NYPD is reporting or whatever, you should always have your head on a swivel. I'm always like, keeping my eye out. Walk around with one earbud in if you want to listen to music, not two. Never have your noise canceling on. I have preached before to just mind your own business when you're on the street, and I think that applies to certain things. Like if someone jumps the turnstile, I'm not going to say anything. Like, I don't really care. But also we have a saying here called, if you see something, say something. I think now it's more important than ever to not only have your head on a swivel for yourself, but to have it for the people around you as well. If you hear someone screaming, if you hear someone trying to help someone else, make noise, be confident, be loud, back them up. God, my knees. My lifestyle has changed a lot since moving here. I no longer work nights. Even with Ubers and Lyfts, I can sometimes feel unsafe. Like there's one time I called a Lyft. I checked the number of rides that this person had given and it was like none. So they had just created the account, and I understand that, everyone's got to start somewhere, but it's not going to be me. It's not going to be a woman. Save that for the gentleman or whoever. You can also share your Lyft or Uber rides with a friend so they can track your ride. Also share your locations with your friends. I share mine with like a few other people. It's like having little Sims in your pocket. You can see where everyone's going, and it's kind of fun. It's like a little game. And you don't even have to share your location with anyone in the city if you don't know anybody. Like share it with people that are back home. Another tip I think I've talked about before is to set up Apple Pay on your phone. This helps so you're not scrounging around in your wallet or your backpack or anything while you're trying to perhaps scan onto the subway. Time that you're standing around in the subways trying to search for your money just makes you more vulnerable to potential theft. Keep it moving, If you can have it on your phone, boop, boop, pay, done. I'm not trying to fearmonger or be alarmist with what I'm about to say, but I think this is important information, and if it can help someone, then I'm going to say it. If you encounter, I'm going to leave this blank. I feel like if I say it, this video is going to get shadow banned and it's not going to reach the people that it should reach. If you encounter, here's some things that you should know. You can call or text this number and provide information, or you can also open your Instagram too at NYC Watch and report it in a form there. Remember the acronym SALUTE and use this information to report your sighting. S for how many agents. Activity, what are they doing? Location, what's the address or intersection or borough that you're in? Uniform, any letters and patches visible on the jackets, vests, or the vehicles that they're driving? What time did you witness this? Equipment, what sort of things did they have with them? We live in a time right now where it's essential to keep your community members safe, and a lot of the stuff have learned from watching many TikToks. Our new mayor, Zora Mamdani, made a TikTok about what to do if you encounter them as well, and some of your rights that you have. I am not a lawyer. I'm not trying to give you any legal advice. Know that they cannot enter private spaces without a judicial warrant. Sometimes they'll try and use an administrative warrant, but you're not allowed to arrest somebody in a private space with an administrative warrant. You need a judicial warrant. You have your right to remain silent. You have your right to keep your door closed. It feels kind of crazy to be talking about like all of your legal rights when these people are not following the law, but it's still important that you know it and that you're prepared in case something happens. I personally protest this administration as often as I can, not as much as I would like to, but I go as often as I can. And if you want to get more involved when you move here, here's a bunch of pages that you can follow on Instagram. That's just how I find out about marches and protests and everything. The protests that I go to are largely very safe, and No, I'm not paid to be there. But if physically protesting is something that you don't want to do, there's a lot of other ways to get involved. One of my best friends does mutual aid in Greenpoint. Have made a whole separate video on places that you can volunteer, how to volunteer here. You can watch that separately. Also, this year is midterm election year. Here's some important dates to keep in mind. We have a special election on Tuesday, February 3rd to fill vacant state assembly and state senate seats in Manhattan and Queens, including districts left open after officials like Zohran Mamdani moved into new roles. He's now our mayor of New York City. We have our primary elections on Tuesday, June 23rd. My fingers are struggling here. I'm so cold. And then we have our general election on Tuesday, November 3rd, including the New York governor's race. I don't think I'm surprising anybody by saying that this is an extremely expensive city to live in. Of course, I preach to save up a ton of money before you come here, way more than you think you need, like even more than $10,000. I mean, we know how much apartments cost now. We've covered that. Our minimum wage just went up from $16.50 to $17, which is a wonderful thing. I'm never going to complain about that, but it's just not enough to be able to survive on your own here if you're working a minimum wage job. Most people I know who are working minimum wage jobs survive off of tips, survive off of a second job or a side hustle. Everyone's monetizing their side hustles here. Our subways also just went up from $2.90 to now $3 per ride. And of course, adding to the high expenses you pay here is our rent. In Mayor Mamdani's first couple of days as mayor, he signed 2 executive orders to help with this rental affordability crisis. One of them speeds up housing development, so this will help increase the amount of housing that's available. And then another 2 streamline the procedures that will help expedite that development. So hopefully we'll see more on that throughout this year. Governor Hochul and Mayor Mamdani have announced that they're putting together some sort of universal child care plan, which is really exciting. Something I urge you to do when you move here is to keep your money as local as possible. That's a wonderful way to support your local community. I mean, gentrification is kind of inevitable. I say this knowing I'm not 100% perfect at this. We want the locals to stay in their neighborhoods. We want their businesses to stay open, and the way you do that is by supporting their businesses. Otherwise, these businesses will go out of business, and then there'll be an empty space, and it's likely that a corporation will come swoop it up. Living below your means is my single biggest tip. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. A lot of these things most people already do, but hopefully this can help somebody. I don't care who you are, no one is above couponing. I saw someone on TikTok buy $100 of products at CVS, which is where we are now, for $7, $8. It was insane. Another great way to save money in the city is Costco. We only have a couple locations, maybe 2 or 3, and it's kind of a pain if you don't have a car, because the point of Costco a lot is to buy in bulk. I didn't realize Costco offered so many more things. I pay $65 a year for their gold membership, and there's a lot of travel perks too. You can book a cruise there, you can book hotels there. I just rented a car last week, and I got a pretty good discount, and then I also got the option for a second driver for free. Technology discounts, what else? And you can also order delivery too. So if you want to buy in bulk but don't want to go to a physical location, you can get it delivered to you. And they also have really good food too for meal planning, meal prepping. You can freeze a lot of the stuff that they have, or go with your roommates and then end up splitting everything up. And also you can eat there for $1.50. I think they're a hot dog and a drink packages $1.50, and I love the CEO for that. You're a real one. I'm actually at the CVS near my school. If you didn't know, I'm a student. I go to Baruch College right now. And if you're also a student, whip out your student ID, and people are like, oh yeah, 10% off. Also, a library card is a great way to save money. You have to be a New York resident, or you have to have proof of address in order to apply for a card. But obviously you can get books, rent books for free, ebooks, audiobooks, free to low-cost printing. If you've been there, if you're out looking for a job and you need a physical resume, I don't know if people do physical resumes anymore, but we always go to Staples, and it's literally $10 for 5 sheets of paper. It's crazy. So check out a library instead. Free Wi-Fi, free bathroom. There's also Culture Pass you can get for free museums and attractions. That's cool. I've never taken advantage of that. Obviously, it's a free workspace. People go to WeWork, but you got to pay to do that. And obviously, a great way to save money is thrift stores. I went to Buffalo Exchange recently where I got these glasses, and where I got this. It was $12.50. And then finally, if you're moving here in the winter, a great way to save money on warm clothes is go to Uniqlo. They have really nice coats, similar to this one. They have great heat tech, which I actually am wearing their heat tech right now. Leggings that keep you warm that you can wear underneath your jeans. They have great neutral basics. I should probably buy something here though. Maybe candy. Yeah, I think this is it. And this is exactly where I was, on the corner of 5th Avenue and East 26th Street. And I was having a meltdown on the phone with my mom. This was about maybe 6 months into moving here, and I was kind of going through a rough time. Okay, I think I was sitting right here, if not at one of those benches over there. We're in Madison Square Park, by the way. I swear everybody has had a crash out at a park in New York City if you live here. I've had so many crash outs. I've cried on the subway. I've cried on this bench. I've cried all over Harlem. When I used to live there, I would cry all the time. There was one time I got a $10,000 raise at my corporate job, which I signed on at that corporate job at $65,000 a year, which is a good amount of money, but it's really hard to live by yourself on that amount. I got a $10,000 raise to $75,000 and I got my first paycheck and I cried. I crashed out because I realized it's still not enough. It just felt like, at least in the first 4 or 5 years here, that just getting a decent paycheck was an uphill battle. And I was having a hard time. I was so young. Now looking back, it's kind of crazy that I'm now at the point where I can look back and reflect on this, because it sometimes feels like it was just yesterday. But I was like 26, 27, 28, feeling like I was so far behind in life. I was dating and I was having no success with it. I was also an asshole. I'm much more self-aware now when it comes to dating, so much so that I don't even do it. But this is just my opinion. But I feel like everyone who sticks it out long enough here eventually reaches a turning point. Eventually good things start to happen for you. Ask my mom. Like, I threatened to leave here so many times, and every time something happened and I just stuck it out. Like, I couldn't imagine leaving here because there's really no other place I would rather be. I really, really struggled with loneliness in the first couple of years. The Best Friends Animal Society, I don't shut up about them. I fundraise for them throughout the month of December. They have this new program where you can take an adoptable dog out for a day. Take the dog out to the dog park, do whatever, have some companionship, and then drop it back off. I think that's the best of both worlds, and I totally would have done that. I actually still might do it because sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, to have an animal that you can leave the house with feels so cool to me, because my cats don't, obviously. But take the opportunity to really push yourself, really stretch your limits, fully commit to having fun as much as you are working. Work hard, play hard. I'm biased, but you're in one of the best cities in the world. Go out and enjoy it. Stay out an extra hour. Say yes to things that come your way instead of finding reasons to say no. If you want to be here and you love it, you'll make it work. And enjoy the opportunity to reinvent yourself. Woo! Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's super long, it's super chatty, but I hope you at least got one thing out of it. And if anything, just to see the outdoors a little bit, because I don't leave my apartment much. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up before you go. Hype the video if you can, and make sure to subscribe, ring the notification bell, and I'll see you in my next one. I love you guys. Bye. Good luck. You got this. Bye.